Hello Exiles, this is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming and welcome to another Path of Exile video. In today's video, I am currently going through Solo Self-Found, which means I have to go through the Atlas again. And I figured while I'm here, I may as well make an Atlas guide for new players in order to explain how I progress my Atlas, get all of my watchstones, and make sure that I can get all the way up to red tier maps and get a good amount of completion on the way and get all of my Maven passives, all that stuff. We're going to go through everything. And in order to do that, we have to start at the beginning. So once you defeat Kitava in Act 10, you'll be able to talk to Officer Kirak here, and he'll be in the town, and you'll do a little mini quest which will basically take you to a couple of areas and get you to find the map device, which you can then place in your hideout. Once you have access to the map device, you can take maps. You may have found some. Kirak will give you a magic one for free, and you'll be able to run that. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that in order to get Atlas completion bonuses, you'll need to run your white maps at least magic rarity, so you'll have to use your orbs of transmutation on them unless they already drop, either magic or rare, and later on you'll be required to use rare or rare corrupted versions of the maps to get that. Nice thing about Atlas completion bonus is that it gives you a chance for maps to drop a tier higher, which will be great for progressing later on. So the first thing you want to do with your maps, you start off in the center here. You have 4 maps in this iteration of the Atlas. We have Park, Mesa, Channel, and Beach. In future patches that may change. They do shuffle around the placements of the maps sometimes, so keep that in mind. But you'll start at one of these. Say you started with Beach. You'll be able to drop adjacent maps, and your initial goal is, first of all, I like to complete all 4 of the first maps, tier 1 maps if possible, and then from there you want to move to the edges of the Atlas, the corners, so Lir Arthane, Lexajoris, Haywark Hamlet, and New Vastir, because that will unlock the ability to do the next part of your Atlas progression, which will be watchstones. So let's say you're doing the beach. The thing to understand about maps is that they can drop either maps you've already completed. So for instance, if you had completed all the tier 1 maps, I could drop any of the tier 1 maps, so Park, Mesa, Channel, or Beach, as well as ones that are adjacent. So I would also be able to drop Caldera, Graveyard, and Dry Sea map. And the ones that are higher tier will usually drop from like rares or bosses. So make sure you get a lot of rare packs, that kind of thing going. It's kind of hard to control early on, but later on you'll be able to have a little bit more control over that. And there are mods that, like Nemesis, that add more rare packs. Also Sextants, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. But for now, you just run the beach map and try to get one of these maps to drop. You can see the little lines here that go from one map to another. You want to follow these through. So say you dropped a Graveyard, you would then be able to drop Summit, Canyon, Marshes, because those are all adjacent, or if you're very lucky, Barrows in this case. And the good thing about Barrows is it's already in New Vastir, so you're able to jump right from Beach, Graveyard, Barrows, and you're in a corner. Now, you'll run into Zana once you defeat the boss in Barrows. You'll follow Zana into a portal. She'll show you one of these watchstone towers. It'll appear on your map, and you will have the influence of the Conquerors of the Atlas available to spawn. You'll know when you have the Conquerors spawned because the region of the Atlas will change color. For instance, here in Turn's End, I have the Warlord spawned, and here in Lex Proxima, I have the Redeemer spawned. There are 4 of these total, and you'll be able to get one of them spawned once you get into the corner. You'll then complete 3 maps. For the first 20 watchstones, you'll only have to do 3 maps per conqueror in order to get watchstones, and beyond that it'll be varied. It can be very heavily varied. You can get 3, 5, 7, 9. I think you can get even higher than that, like 11 maps to get 1 watchstone, and it can be pretty tedious. But yeah, once you get your first watchstone, you'll take it and you will socket it into the zone that you went through to get to the corner. So in the example here, I would take my first watchstone and I would put it into Glenark Cairns. And the thing you'll notice is instead of being tier 1 through 4 maps in this zone, we'll take it, throw it in there, and now Beach is a tier 4 map, and the ones on the edges can go up to tier 8. So you'll have tier 4 through 8 maps available for you. And the nice thing about this is you'll then work your way to the other 3 corners one by one using the same method, following the lines. There are ways to cheat this. For instance, you can use a horizon orb or an orb of horizons on a tier 5 map. Say for instance I had a mud geyser and I had already gotten the watchstone in New Vestir. I could use an orb of horizons prior to socketing in this watchstone, and it would give me either like desert, arachnid nest, or crimson temple, and that would put me right here. But then you'd have to get lucky and drop one of the adjacent ones and hope that you can keep your map sustain going there. But you would also have a completion in that area, meaning you could drop more crimson temples if it were in Lir Arthane, for instance. So that's one way to kind of cheat your way into the corners. But for now, and there's also a harvest craft that does the exact same thing. You can use that same method, but the easier method is to just start, like say in Park, and go one by one towards Haywark Hamlet, and once you get Haywark Hamlet, you'll spawn that, and it'll be a little bit easier that way to keep track of. You do not want to socket your second or third watchstones when you get them. Just put them in the side, like I have this golden watchstone here. Do not socket them. Just keep the one in the zone that you went through first, in my case Lex Proxima here, and put the rest in your little storage things over to the side. And I'll explain a little bit more about that later. But the reasoning, well, I guess I'll just explain it now. The reasoning you want to do that is because as you complete your tier like 4 and 5 maps, you'll be able to drop higher tier maps from like rares and bosses, and you'll drop, like say I completed an arachnid nest or an ivory temple, I might drop a tier 4 mesa, or I might drop an iceberg, or perhaps even a geode or something, or race course, one of those ones. So, or one of the ones that spawns for sure. So yeah, like race course that I had already completed in order to get into this corner. So yeah, if I completed an if I completed, say, like Crimson Temple while I was getting Lir Arthane, it's possible it'll drop one higher and I'll get a tier 6 race course. This will build up a stockpile of maps in this area, which will allow you to start spawning your Conqueror once you get your first 4 right away. Once you have your 4, you're going to take your 2 of your watchstones and put them in another area, preferably whichever one you want to farm, but preferably one with a few completions. This one has, and you want to make sure you have already completed at least 1 tier 8 and 1 tier 9. That's very important because some of the maps you're going to be doing, like for instance, if I'm doing a maze here, I want it to be able to drop either a park or a crimson township. And I have like an arid lake as well that could drop. So you want to make sure that you're dropping the maps here in Turn's End while you're completing your conquerors. The requirements for conquerors to spawn will go up as you complete. So this says number of socketed watchstones required to spawn conqueror 1. As I complete more conquerors and Lex Proxima, and we're going to do these one by one. So once I have the 4 outer ones, I'm going to do all of the central ones one by one, getting all of them, or rather 2 at a time, kind of. So I'll only ever have watchstones socketed in 2 regions, and I will continue to do those regions until I have all 4 watchstones. And then once I have, say, all of the watchstones from Lex Proxima, I'll move my watchstones to Glenark Cairns, and then once I have them all from Tyrion's End, I'll move them all to Valdo's Rest. And then we can move them out and do the outer ones. But the reason we do this is just so we're not scattered around, and so we can focus our progress. This makes it so we're always dropping maps for the next region we're going to be working on. This is very, very important and helps you focus. Now, it's possible you're not going to be powerful enough, or your build may not be strong enough yet to go to like the red tier maps, and it is fine to like farm with 2 watchstones and like tier 9 and 10 maps for a while in one region until you gear up a little bit, do like your master missions and stuff. That is perfectly fine. Even like white maps, you can do that. Get a little bit more completion. It will make it a little bit easier as well to have a higher completion bonus, because you'll have that higher chance of dropping higher tier maps, which will improve your sustain. Which is very nice. So feel free to do that as well. But if you feel like your build is strong enough, you can basically just rush to tier 16 maps this way very quickly, surprisingly quickly. Probably within a couple of days, even if you're, not that fast of a player. So you can do that. So from there, once you get your first 20 watchstones using this method, Cirrus will spawn. And you'll fight Cirrus, and you may win, you may lose. Either way, you'll start spawning Conquerors again, but as I said earlier, they'll start slowing down. From here on out, there's actually a faster way to get watchstones than doing the Conquerors themselves, which is with Maven invitations. Once you get into like tier 5 maps, or just do so many maps, the Maven will appear, and alongside one of the bosses, you'll run into the Stranger periodically before you run into the Maven. And then once you do run into the Maven, she'll kind of help a boss, and you'll beat that boss. It'll drop the orb, and on your map device, you'll go to it, and this little orb will appear. When it's orange, that means the Maven will witness your map's boss encounters, and you'll be able to start unlocking these Maven passives. What you do with these passives is up to what your goals are. You can customize it, and this video isn't going to talk about those really. That's an entirely different subject. But yeah, basically, for instance, I'm in solo self-found. I want to do a lot of harvest to craft good gear. So over here in Haywark Hamlet, I'll be doing the harvest-centric ones. But yeah, just read through the passives and kind of decide how you want to customize your play experience from there on out. Very nice. So once you start unlocking these, you'll fight. As you can see, there are 3 bars here. So if I do one more Lex Proxima map with witness, or with the Maven witnessing a map I haven't done yet. So for instance, let me see if I have a map. For instance, let's see if I have one. Okay, so any of my current ones. Okay, there will be a little blue orb down here if it's been witnessed by a Maven, and you can also hover over and there will be purple text saying it's witnessed by the Maven. If I go to a map in that region, this is in Lex Proxima as well, and this does not contain having been witnessed by Maven. So if I run this cage right now, I'll get this 3rd one, and Maven will drop an invitation where I will unlock the passive points. It goes from 3 to 4 to 5 to 10, I believe. There might be one in the middle. It might be 3, 4, 7, 10 or something along those lines. But basically, you'll fight a progressively increasing number of bosses in the Maven invitation and unlock more of these passives. On the 10th one, when you're on the 5th one, where you're fighting 10 at a time, 10 bosses, you will drop watchstones, special Maven watchstones, like platinum ones, and you'll be able to roll things onto them, and you'll be able to socket them in just like a regular watchstone. And it's actually much faster, in my opinion, to farm watchstones this way. You can also purchase those if you're on Trade League, by the way, if you want to just force your way into tier 16 maps using currency without engaging in a lot of the Conqueror stuff. But yeah, more or less, by time you get the 20 watchstones, it's very slow to get additional watchstones organically. So you're guaranteed in each region to drop an invitation for a 10 boss fight, and that the first time you fight them. So that's a guarantee of like 8 more watchstones basically. And then beyond that, you'll get the invitations as drops for each zone, and then you can just, if you happened to get the drop, you can fight them once you have 10 of them witnessed. So you can do it that way. It's probable that by the time you do get all 40 or all of your watchstones, not 40, it is 32. By the time you get all 32 of your watchstones, it is probable that only like 23 or 24 of them are organic watchstones, including the first 20, and then the rest of them are going to be the platinum watchstones. And then once you have all of it completed, you have an Awakener 8 Atlas. You can start working on a lot of the really hard end game stuff like Awakener 8, a lot of stuff like that. Later on in map progression, you'll have a harder time dropping things, so you're going to have to start using your currency. And one of the things about watchstones is once you have them, you can use sextants on them. Sextants have a variety of effects. I don't have a lot of sextants, but I'll just show, just for an example, this is a simple sextant. I throw it onto this Crimson Watchstone. Players and monsters take 8% increased physical damage. Also contains 4 additional packs of monsters that deal physical damage. So it'll basically increase the amount of monsters in the zone, meaning that you have more opportunities to drop more maps, more items, and the maps are the important part. And you can also start running your maps rare and corrupted. Rare maps are going to have higher quantity. So for instance, I can take this one. This has 55% increased item quantity. So I take that. You can also add quantity onto your maps. I'll just do this as an example, even though it's kind of a waste to do it on lower tier maps. Let's find one. You take a white map before you've rolled it, and you use 4 cartographer's chisels. You don't want to use 20 cartographer's chisels on it. And it gives it 20% quality, which gives you right off the bat 20% item quantity. This is very, very important as you'll drop more maps. And then, of course, you'll get higher tier maps with your Atlas objective. So eventually you want to be running these very high quantity maps with sextants and with them chiseled once you get into like red maps, and that'll help you make sure that you have enough map drops to sustain and to continue progressing. That's pretty much everything you need to know. If you can get these basics down, you'll be able to easily get all of your watchstones and progress through the Atlas. Whether or not you can take on the stuff at the end of the Atlas, that's another story entirely. But at least you can get there. I may do some more kind of focused guides like this in the future. I'm planning on doing a basic how to get into heist guide, as well as a more beginner-centric walkthrough of the storyline guide now that they increase the difficulty of like Act 1 type thing. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to subscribe and look forward to that. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I will see you next time. Bye!